Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Rob's World of Boxing. Let's get it. Alright. Today, we're going to get into our featherweights. I'm going to give you my top 5 featherweights in the world right now. And if you didn't know, featherweight is 126 pounds. Let's get into it. At number 5, I got Josh Warrington. Sorry about that. Warrington's 30-1 with 1 draw, 7 KOs, 31 years of age. He's an orthodox fighter. He stands at 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. He's from the UK. His last fight was a technical draw in the second round against Mauricio Lara, February 13, 2021. No, I'm sorry about that. September 4th, 2021. The first fight was February 13, 2021. That's when he suffered a TKO loss to Mauricio Lara. Yeah, I seen that fight. Lara was tagging Warrington with a left hook all night. Lara kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't know who he was prior to him fighting Warrington. Everybody thought Warrington was going to just, have an easy night that night. It was the bubble. But, yeah, it was everything but. All right. And his next fight, Warrington being, is going to be March 10th against, March 26th. Against Kiko Martinez. It's going to be for the IBF belt that he held for all these years. I guess he vacated the belt after his technical draw. And Kid Gallahan and some other guy fought for the vacant belt. Kid Gallahan won. And then after Kid Gallahan won the belt, he got TKO'd by Kiko Martinez in the 6th round. So Kiko Martinez has Josh Warrington's IBF belt. So he's going to try to go and get it back March 26, 2022. Let's see if he has what it takes. Like I said, I got Josh Warrington here. Josh Warrington, he suffered, he's coming off of basically 2 losses. He's coming off a TKO loss, and he's coming off a technical draw loss, in my opinion, because he was, well, it's not a loss, but it's a technical draw, but it's a loss, man. You was supposed to beat this guy. Nobody ever knew him. Now you done put this man's name on the map, so, yeah, man. But, prior to that, Warrington had beat everybody in the division, man. He's, he was the man at 126 for a long time, so I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna just drop him off the list for, a couple losses. Well, 1 loss and a draw, so, yeah, man. My top 5 featherweight in the world today, Josh Warrington. Number 4, Mauricio Lara. We're just talking about Lara. This is a guy who just beat Warrington. Let's get into him. He's 23-2, 1 draw, 16 KOs. He's 23 years of age. He's an orthodox fighter. He stands at 5'7". He's from Mexico. As I stated previously, his last fight was a technical draw. In the 2nd round versus Josh Warrington, September 4th, 2021. Prior to that, he beat Josh Warrington in the 9th round with a TKO. That put him on the map. The fight wasn't for Josh Warrington's belt, IBF belt that he beat him in. I guess because it was in a bubble and a lot was going on. It was like one of the first fights in the bubble, so they didn't fight for the belt. That would have been, great for him if it was a title fight, but it wasn't. His next opponent is March 5th against Emilio Valanciunas, if I'm not mistaken. And I've never heard of this guy. Just like I never heard of Mauricio Lara prior to his Josh Warrington fight. I went back and looked at his record. He doesn't have any names on his resume. Yeah, man, most of his opponents had losing records. So yeah, I want to see this guy do more power to him, for beating Josh Warrington and getting that win. And yeah, man, that's why I put him in my number 4 spot. I can't put him under Josh Warrington, how he did Josh Warrington, so I'm putting him one spot over him. And, just until he show me more, man, at the weight. So, yeah. My number 3 featherweight in the world, Gary Russell Jr. Let's get into him. He's 31-2, 18 KOs. He's 33 years of age. He's a southpaw. He stands at 5'4", with a 64-inch reach. He's from Washington, D.C. His last fight was a majority decision loss against Mark Magsayo, January 22nd, 2022. Before that, he had a unanimous decision win versus Tug Niambiar, February 8th, 2020. I thought he had competed in the Olympics, but I guess he didn't. I guess he was going to compete in the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. But, yeah, he was billed to be one of the biggest stars that year in the Olympics. But I guess it was a lot of controversy because he passed out in his room, actually, trying to cut weight before his belt. And yeah, it was a lot of unwanted attention on the Olympic staff, on the U.S. Olympic staff. Yeah, that they didn't need for the incident. But nonetheless, he wasn't able to compete in the 2008 Olympics, so he never threw a punch in the Olympics. But I could have swore he was on the team, but I guess I was wrong. But yeah, other than that, man, Gary Russell, he's beat he just lost his last fight to Mark Magsayo, but in that fight he injured his shoulder in the 5th round, and he was still doing what he was supposed to. In my opinion, I feel like he beat Mark Magsayo because you got to beat the champion. Gary Russell Jr. was the longest reigning champion in boxing, and I feel like he should have been given he should have been given a nod instead of Mark Magsayo. You got to beat the champ, man. He didn't beat the champ. Gary Russell has beat everybody you could name at 126. He's been at 126 his whole career down there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, man, Mr. Gary Russell Jr., a couple defeats ain't gonna, get me off your bandwagon, man. He the truth. I really respect how he finished that fight, with one arm. And, man, he's number 3 on my list. Mr. Gary Russell Jr., number 3. Number 2, Mark Magsayo. As I stated previously, he just put his name on the map from beating Mr. Gary Russell Jr. His record is Mark Magsayo's record is 24-0 with 16 KOs. He's 26 years of age. He's an orthodox fighter. He stands at 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. He's from the Philippines. As I stated previously, his last fight was a majority decision win against Mr. Gary Russell Jr. January 22nd, 2022. Prior to that, he KO'd Julio Ceja August 21st, 2021 in the 10th round with a vicious KO. He's a WBC champ now. He got that belt from Mr. Gary Russell Jr.'s last fight. So he's an undefeated champion. And he's Manny Pacquiao's protege. So he's been taught well. He's been boxing since he was about 6. I like Mark Magsayo, man. He's aggressive. He doesn't know lose yet, so all he knows is come forward and and no quit. And he showed that against Mr. Gary Russell Jr. I had to put him number 2 on my top featherweights just because I don't feel like he did it, but he got the win, he got the belt, so he did it. He beat Mr. Gary Russell Jr. and dethroned him. So, you will spot over him on my top featherweights right now in the world. Mark Magsayo. And now, let's get into my number 1. Gotta light the weed for it first, though. Let's get into my number one fighter at featherweight, Emmanuel Navarrete. He's 35-1 with 29 KOs. He's 27 years of age. He's an orthodox fighter. He stands at 5'7" with a 72-inch reach. He's from Mexico. His last fight was a unanimous decision win versus Joet Gonzalez, October 15, 2021. Before that, he had a 12th round TKO versus Christopher Diaz, April 24th, 2021. Emmanuel Navarrete is a WBO featherweight champ. Man, what can I say about Navarrete? This guy is a machine. All he does is come forward and throw punches. He'll get hit, but it don't seem like he's getting hit. And he'll just eat your punches and come in, knock your ass out. As you can see from his record, with 35 wins, 29 KOs. He's a heavy-handed, sorry about that. He's a heavy-handed fighter. The first time I seen this guy was against Isaac Dogbay. Dogbay came out with so much energy and was like, he got this thing he does. He be yelling, before the fight and in the middle of the fight. And man, I don't know what he be saying or what he be doing, but after the fight, he wasn't doing that shit no more. Navarrete beat that yell out of him. And yeah, man, I like Navarrete at 126 and at 130 if he decides to move up. Yeah, man, I don't really see too many. I don't see nobody on this list beating him at all. Yeah, man. Emmanuel Navarrete, my top featherweight in the world right now. Let's recap the list. Number 1, Emmanuel Navarrete. Number 2, Mark Magsayo. Number 3, Gary Russell Jr. Number 4, Mauricio Lara. Number 5, Josh Warrington. Those were my top 5 featherweights in the world today. Comment, subscribe to my channel for sure. I keep saying it, but man, subscribe to my shit and like the video. Rob's World of Boxing, people. Yeah.